So it seems like that would be another aspect, basically, of characterization. That you learn a ton of stuff about this world, and then you run it through your cast, see the stuff that's personal enough to their story, and then put it
I just set them loose, and then when like the information, it's just like higher math. Like when you memorize all those formulas and stuff, and it's kind of hard, and you don't understand the logic, but then by the time you get to like geometry, it all starts to click and make sense. I just forgot it all. Yeah. And then when I needed it, when my character was in a situation where I needed it, it was just there. It was there as if I had lived it myself. Because I just kind of put it in the back bin, and that which will endure will endure. You must have written a lot of stuff that didn't make the book, though. Like, didn't you write a ton of pages, especially for the 19th century stuff that was just exploratory writing? Actually, no. Really? Shockingly, for me, the surprising part of the book is the 19th century part was so easy to write. Like, I don't know even where that sort of jaunty Victorian voice came from, except that, like, my dad read me Dickens as a kid, right. And I read so much Dickens that I don't really know. It just sort of came out more fully formed. I think there was a lot of doubt. There was a lot of false starting, but there wasn't really that much more material. That's really in fact, I added material after the book. I mean, I added a character after the book was done, which is not an easy task in a book with 42 points of view, because you can't just shove somebody in there without having them connect. The book is all about connective tissue. Sure. But when I added this character, by the time I got that far along in the book, I could see exactly how this character would affect all the other characters. I could see how this character actually helped me elevate 4 other characters in the book. And the interesting thing is nobody's ever guessed who that character is. So like, ooh, I almost gave it up. This character is invisible in that sense. I could have never conceived of this character a year and a half into the process, you know what I mean? Right. But once I was done, so I think in this respect, I added more material to this. There wasn't a lot of, which is usually a part of the process. There's a lot of that exploratory stuff that doesn't make it. And this was kind of the opposite. What about with the 21st century tentacle of the story, though? Were you starting with some questions that you wanted to build around? And you were using the past to inform those questions? Yeah. The whole novel was about starting this cultural conversation. I mean, I try to not be partisan about like the political or the political stuff or I didn't want to be too hard on our forebears. I just wanted to give people real life characters and let them decide for themselves. Go back to the question again. Say it again. So you want me to say the question? Yeah, say it again. Yeah, how we're talking about the questions you were going to building the 21st century. Oh yeah. So like for me, the idea is not to answer questions or like I'm not like my thesis is a question. You know what I mean? My thesis isn't to prove to the readers this is how it is. My question is I just want to stimulate conversation beyond the context of the book. And so like my question in this book is kind of sort of hinted at the title is like, who are we? What is our national identity now that we're no longer the world's producer? Where do we go? Where is our redemption now that we've gone as far west figuratively and literally as we can go? Yeah. I mean, it's really kind of a call to arms to America because I still believe in America. I still call it the American experiment, just like the transcendentalist. I love that idea. Like, Whitman and Emerson and these guys, they talked about America as a great experiment because that's what it is, I mean, beyond the whole John O'Sullivan, manifest destiny guided by God to move west and trample the landscape and kill the Indians, there's this heady idea of being the first culture in the history of the world to level the classes. Sure. The first culture, you have all these European immigrants who have been stuck in caste for, countless generations, and all of a sudden, if you've got a strong back and a pickaxe, you can take your chances, go west and homestead 140 acres of the best land in the world, That's a pretty powerful idea. You mentioned the collision of the literal and the metaphorical a second ago. And let's talk a little bit about the presence that Bigfoot plays in the 21st century tendril of the story. You're doing some really interesting things with the Bigfoot mythology. Can you speak to that a little bit? Yeah, well, exactly. The 19th century characters are full. There's all these possibilities. There's all these wild possibilities. They don't know what's out there. Now, for the 21st, I mean, to me, it's you either believe in Bigfoot or you don't believe in Bigfoot, but I've never, ever met a person that didn't want to believe in Bigfoot. You know what I mean? For me, it's like an imperative. It's a sort of redemption in itself to think that there is still this one wild possibility out there. And so Craig in the novel is, whose great-great-great-grandfather worked on the dam. I mean, he's an amateur cryptozoologist, and he wants to believe, you know, and he thinks he's had, you know, I actually had to infiltrate the Bigfoot Field Research Organization as part of my research, and you know, I've been doing some amateur Bigfoot research for like 20 years, you know, I mean, which, you know, I mean, my epistemology is basically get a case of beer and drive like 20, 30 miles out into the backwoods and just do some hollering, beat some sticks on some trees, you know, because tree knocks. So, I mean,
that sounds like a terrible idea.
It's great. It's fun. So, but the reason I infiltrated the Bigfoot group was because I thought there would actually be some sort of science there. I was like, okay, I'm going to pay these people $750, and like, probably I'm going to get there, and they're going to have infrared, second-generation night gear. We're going to have some grade 8 pheromones. We're going to hang them on trees. We're going to have camera traps. We're going to have like topo maps and push pins, and it's going to be like an expedition. But it was just like a bunch of drunks, 5 drunk slobs. Wow. They're like, oh, dude, did you bring your bike? And I'm like, a bike? Yeah, well, the park doesn't know that we're a Bigfoot group. They think we're a bike group. Oh, so just don't say Bigfoot. So the whole time we're not allowed to say Bigfoot, we're there. We're out there like 4,500 feet with no bike trails, like lugging our bikes around. And there's 5 experts and 20 laymen. So like, and we're going to split up into 5 groups. So how do you break that up, right? 1 expert, 5 laymen, 5 groups? No. No, the 5 experts go like 20 miles this way, and the rest of us just split up in groups of 5. We're just like out in the woods all night, beating on trees. Wow. You know, so it's really disappointing.
It sounds like the beginning of a horror movie, doesn't it?
It was not. So, you know, anybody who comes to the Olympic Peninsula, if you want to pay me $500, I will take you on an expedition, and I will perpetrate no flaws. But what would happen is every night, so we in these 5 different groups, every night the rest of us are all just huddled in our group, and then on the radio it'd be like, shh, shh, we've got something up here. So like every night for 4 nights, they were having some action around the perimeter. Something just tripped the trip line. Yeah. You know, one guy said he got infrasounded by Bigfoot, which is like something I've never even heard attributed to Bigfoot. It's like infrasound is this thing insects can do to each other sonically, like paralyze their prey. So this guy said Bigfoot like leaned into his head, and like all this, you know, go figure, they're getting all the action up here, the 5 experts and the rest of us. It was just such a joke.
That Bigfoot leaned inside his
tent
and sonically stunned him?
Yeah.
That could happen.
Right. It could. Who knows? I mean, like I said, I'm more of an enthusiastic wanting to believe. The body of evidence with Bigfoot is besides the Patterson film, you know, the famous 1967 Big Bluff, this one, that has never been conclusively proven a hoax, and it's actually really convincing when you watch it. I mean, like if you break it down, I mean, if you take like a primatologist and have them break it down, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff like the flexation of the metatarsal joint, and the fact that the knee regularly bends to a 90-degree angle. The human knee generally doesn't bend over 70, and it's certainly not going to do that in a fur suit. And in 1967, just watch Planet of the Apes. They're not capable of creating a uniform that has flexation in the gluteus maximus and stuff. Like the muscle groups actually move beneath the fur, and that you can't just put foam rubber under a fur suit and do that. I mean, that's like, even by today's standards, it would be really hard to do. It's a really haunting piece of footage. But other than that, totally unconvincing. I mean, a bunch of plaster casts that look like they could be Fred Flintstone's footprints, and like, you know, I saw the Skookum cast, which is like allegedly it's supposed to be like a semi-supine Bigfoot laying down, reaching for this basket of apples. We were sitting there for bait, and I looked at it and I'm like, really? I mean, it's just like, I mean, it's like a Rorschach test. It's like, you know, 2 elephants making love to a men's glee club. You know what I mean? But it's like actually supposed to be the shoulder, and I don't see it. None of the, and some of the sightings are preposterous. You know, I mean, I read one where it's like a guy that Bigfoot urinated in his campfire kind of thing. But some of them are kind of real. And, you know, it's just like the UFO hoaxers.
But what's cool in the book, though, is that Craig's enthusiasm is so contagious that his enthusiasm becomes the reader's enthusiasm. As we're hoping that this kind of quest that he's on kind of bears fruit for him.